All right, let's kick it off. I'm David Karandish, CEO and co-founder here at Capacity. Super excited to share with you on how you can help streamline your business with conversational AI. Let's go ahead and dive in. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. All right, so I wanted to start super high level, all the way at the beginning and say, what is technology? When you think about tech, you think about how we've transitioned as a society from horse and buggy all the way up now to self-driving Teslas. And if I think about ultimately what that transition is, the technology is a proxy for outsourced labor. It's what we use as a lever to get more things done rather than having people involved with every single step. At the same time, a process itself is the sum of all the labor you need to go complete a set of repeated tasks. So think of a recipe as a process. It's all the different steps that you need to make, you need to go through in order to bake a great set of chocolate chip cookies. Automation is therefore then shifting human labor to technology in a process. And again, we're going to start out a little definition heavy here. We'll go through a couple of these to start, but we're going to use this to lay the foundation for how you can bring conversational AI into your workplace. All right, so we talked about labor, we talked about automation. What's intelligence? So the simplest definition I've seen on intelligence is that intelligence is the ability to learn and apply patterns. So you think about these classic worksheets. I think one of my kids brought one of these home toward the end of the semester this year. It's the ability to look at a pattern and go learn and apply, diamond, circle, diamond, circle, diamond, circle, what comes next sort of thing. So if you said, okay, David, great, we get intelligence, we get, some of these processes. How does the brain work? How does the human mind think? Well, we like to take phenomena we find in the real world and we like to make models. So if you think about the galaxy, a Hubble telescope, you might see something that looks like this. Our kids bring home models that look like this, size not to scale. But we come up with these models to help us understand how the world works. The best model that I've seen around how the brain works, how the mind works, comes from a man by the name of Ray Kurzweil. So Ray wrote this book, How to Create a Mind. Highly recommend. It's a great read. But he has coined this term, what he calls the pattern recognition theory of the mind. This means that the brain is essentially a giant hierarchical pattern recognition machine. So from the time you open your eyes, you'll see light and dark, you'll see color, you'll see shapes. There's actually a part of your brain that's specifically focused on detecting faces, which is why you can see grandma in the clouds when you look up at the clouds every once in a while. The basic idea, though, is that your brain is constantly recognizing these patterns in these hierarchies and using that to make decisions. So up until this point, people have talked about using this kind of tech to, what I would say, automate physical labor. So we showed that example earlier of the horse. Now we don't have horses. It's funny. I was looking at some used cars this week. They still list cars based on horsepower, which is funny. It's just a funny notion, right? But people came around and they said, okay, David, what if we could use the power of technology, not to just outsource physical labor, but to also outsource cognitive labor? And that's where things start to get interesting. So this is where artificial intelligence steps in. A lot of people are talking about AI. There's all sorts of viewpoints on, are we going to turn into Terminators or something from some Black Mirror episode, to is AI going to do everything that I want it to do? But my simplest definition of AI is, think of AI as software that learns and applies patterns. So it filled in that the diamond and circle and square and triangle are the next two items in each of those series. Now, the reality is that AI is really good at certain types of tasks, and other tasks are a lot harder. So anyone here have a good breakfast this morning? I've been trying to eat salads in the new year, trying to be healthy. But if I was really wanting to indulge, I might have a muffin, right? A nice blueberry muffin. It's a great breakfast. I'm pretty good at spotting what muffin I'd like to eat. But AIs actually have a difficult time with these types of tasks, right? Is it a muffin? Is it a chihuahua? Oh, we just got a new dog named Lola, so she would probably be offended by me thinking of her as a possible muffin. But this is historically been a hard task for an AI because just using simplistic patterns, these things can kind of trip the breaker, if you will. But you're seeing AI play out all over the place. You see it in your personal email. So I write an email to Mike. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Gmail automatically fills in the next part of what I'm going to say. You see this in your Netflix queue. So Netflix knows I like Leonardo DiCaprio movies. I like thrillers. And I can even tell my wife's been using my Netflix account because the Great British Baking Show showed up there. But you've got AI in place in your consumer life, from your email to your Netflix to lots of different parts of your world. The idea, though, behind AI and automation is, what if you could take software that not only takes on the human labor, but also learns and applies patterns? So software taking on human labor, that's the automation piece. Learning and applying patterns, that's the AI piece. If you jam those two together, you start to get some pretty interesting results. And if you apply these specifically to supporting either your customers or your team, that's where you get a support automation platform, a way to use AI and automation to automate everything behind the scenes, whether it's internal or external. Ultimate goals: want to free your team up so your team can go do its best work. It's not focused on those level 0 support questions. It's not focused on answering the same things over and over again and shuffling tickets around. It's focused on just the areas where people need human intervention. My favorite quote along these lines: perfection is achieved not when there's nothing left to add, but when there's nothing left to take away. This is the promise of this kind of technology. It's, look, we're not trying to add more things into the mix. What we're trying to do is make it so that people can focus on a smaller set of things that need people to move the ball forward. All right, so that leaves a big question, David. How do you go apply this? What does this look like? How do you roll this out? So I have an analogy I've been using. I think it's helpful in terms of how you can think about going to market with it. But I like to think of a restaurant. So it's date night. You've got your significant other, you're out, you've got your restaurant. All restaurants can be divided into really kind of 3 key parts. You've got your waiter, your server. They're talking with you one-on-one, asking you about the wine pairing, asking you about the steak dinner, the appetizer, if you want to look at the cocktail menu. But they're having a guided conversation with you, kind of one-to-one, to help you make the right choice. Conversely, you got everything happening behind the scenes in the kitchen. So if the server is working with you one-on-one, the kitchen is servicing the entire totality of the restaurant. And then lastly, you've got the bussers, and the bussers are here to build the next table. They're going to make sure that the next table is ready. They're waiting to make that happen. They're not doing the conversational piece up front. They're not in the kitchen out back. They're there to just get the next table built and ready to go. So if you think of the server or the waiter at the beginning of the restaurant as the kind of front facing, and you think of the kitchen as the kind of behind the scenes, and you think of the busser as the builder setting up each table, that ties right into support automation framework that we've been using with our clients, but we've seen other folks adopt as well. And the framework is pretty simple. It's answer, automate, and build. You want to answer as many questions either for your team or for your customers. You want to automate the tasks that are happening behind the scenes. So again, think of that as the kitchen analogy. And then you want to go build. You want to get the next thing built up and ready to go. So if we kind of start unplugging this and say, David, okay, great. What needs to be part of support automation platform? What does that look like? How do we layer conversational AI on top of all these different pieces? Well, Obviously, you're going to need a knowledge base, and the bot is going to be pulling from that. So that's the first place to start. But there are a lot of components to the platform. You're going to want a place to store your documents. Otherwise, the bot's not going to be able to answer the things that you need to from your PDFs and your Word files and that sort of thing. You want to be able to survey your end users, see CSAT, ESAT, how are they doing? What can be improved? You want to be able to jump directly into a conversation with an end customer. So that could be a live chat external. That could be a live chat internal for think of like IT support, HR support. You want to be able to create a ticket in the help desk for anything that the bot can't answer. So you have a trackable kind of roll call and audit log around everything that happened. And then you also want to be able to see the same thing that's happening on the other side via co-browse. So on the answer portion of a support automation platform, you got the knowledge base, the cloud drive, surveys, live chat, help desk, and co-browse. If we go down to the next layer on the automate side, you want to be able to have not just a single question in, answer out, but a full-on guided conversation. You want to be able to mine your documents, not just do basic search, but do intelligent document processing, where you've got maybe a form you want to fill out, or you've got common fields that need to be extracted from a contract or proposal or an NDA or something like that. You've got workflows that map out your backend processes. You want to be able to automate those, and then specifically do event-based automation. So think of when a particular event occurs. If this condition is true, let's go take some kind of action. You want to be able to do RPA so you can log into websites and push and pull information, as well as automate the experience of reliving what somebody did on your website. So replaying what happened when that gets associated back with the help desk ticket. So conversations, IDP, workflows, automations, RPA, and replay. And then finally, on the build portion, you want to be able to publish content out to your website via articles. You want to be able to integrate with all the apps that you care about. You want to be able to build your own apps via developer platform. You want to integrate with all the right interfaces. So internally, it might be Slack and Microsoft Teams. Externally, it might be SMS or voice. You want to connect to your existing databases, and you want a cloud-based database for the times when you just need some quick storage or you don't have a place to store the data. So articles, apps, dev platform interfaces, and then the different databases. Now, there are vendors for each one of these categories. We are obviously at Capacity, we're not the only people who provide any of these boxes. I think what's unique about our approach and the need that it was not well articulated until we had to kind of uncover it is that companies don't want to have to stitch together each of these solutions. They don't want to go pull a bot from one place and an IDP here and a live chat there and a replay there and a app integration over here and a database integration over there. Imagine a world where you go to one place, put all this together, and help automate your support, and do that with a conversational layer on top. That to me is a truly powerful option that even just a couple of years ago would have been complete fantasy land. Now we've got clients that are doing this day in and day out. So one platform to support your team and your customers. David, what does that look like? So from a conversational standpoint, this could be helping your team members think, do we have a customer onboarding guide? How do I connect to the VPN? Who's the primary contact at West Community? Where can I find our NDA? So this could be pulling from your cloud drive. It could be pulling from an article. It could be pulling from Salesforce. It could be pulling from some external third-party data store, answering these internal type questions for your team. Second one, think of your customers. How do I set up my account? How do I add capacity in my website? What are your new platform features? I have a feature request. We have companies that are embedding capacity in their software to help their customers get the answers that they need, so their team doesn't have to, again, field these level 0 support questions. All right, so David, you talked about intelligence, you talked about technology, you talked about automation, you talked about AI, you talked about this support automation platform where you're putting together both automation, kind of outsourcing the human labor with the AI, learning and applying patterns, applying it out to your customers and your team. how does this actually work? Like, give me some concrete, demonstrable examples of what this looks like. That's what we're going to cover here over the next few minutes. All right, so I want to start out talking about Chargebee. Chargebee is a recurring billing software as a service company. They're a unicorn, just raised a massive round here pretty recently. And they came to us and said, David, we really want you to help us automate our support. Now, the challenge that they have is they've got a kind of tier A customers that are in this premium tier that they want to provide a white glove service to. And then they've got self-serve customers who they want to help out, but they can't staff a dedicated customer success manager. So the way that it works is customer can access an article on the Chargebee support site. And then with each article, we've got a thumbs up, thumbs down to measure the usefulness. So if somebody happened to thumb down a particular article, if they're a self-serve customer, we're going to create this ticket down below. If they're a premium tier customer, the AI is going to route this directly to a live chat agent and then get a very differing experience based on those factors. And so Chargebee loves this because we can effectively help bifurcate and let them spend more time on their largest customers and help their self-serve customers effectively self-serve in. Second use case with Chargebee. Customer goes in and creates a ticket. It's going to have feedback, a bug, enhancement request, you name it. This is going to trigger an automation. Again, that's that event-based waiting for something to happen that kicks off an action in our developer platform and then goes and generates an engineering ticket for their Jira integration. So spoiler alert, while we have our own help desk, we at Capacity are integrated with Freshdesk, we're integrated with Jira, we're integrated with Zendesk, a bunch of the other help desks out there. So if you like your help desk, great. We'll provide the automation layer around it. If you don't, or you think there's an opportunity to switch, we've got a great help desk as well. So in their case, they wanted to use our Capacity help desk for their support, but their engineering and their tickets, they wanted to keep in Jira. We could still bridge that gap. Use case number 3. When a customer gets an answer from the web concierge, they're going to get a follow-up CSAT survey. Hey, how do we do? Did we answer your question well? What can we do to improve? Those answers get stored directly into our Capacity database. And then a workflow automatically surfaces any poor CSAT ratings directly to their customer success team. That way they can follow up directly. So they're not having to scan through all the good stuff. They can specifically zero in on the areas that need improvement. Use case numero 4. So Chargebee's customer success team updates the web concierge welcome message to reflect the most common searches and ticket categories. So for example, Chargebee rolled out a new product update called Product Catalog 2, and they use Capacity to make it a lot easier to find the information. So rather than this being a static message that you see when you load up the bot, it can be dynamic and tailored toward your particular use case and as things come up. All right, I want to do another example here with our friends over at NextMove. NextMove is a nursing staffing company. So we all know there's a big nursing staffing shortage, and with the Great Resignation going on, finding nurses is very, very challenging. And so they came to us and they said, David, we want you to help us work through this process of getting our nurses either onboarded or connected to the right jobs. They rolled Capacity out on their website. You can check it out, NextMove's website. 92% of inquiries are now answered without any human interaction. Now, I know people that can't answer 9 out of 10 questions I ask them. So for the bot to get to that level, I just think that's phenomenal progress. When we started, our bot was answering about 55% of questions automatically. So it's made a dramatic improvement, even just the last, call it 18 to 24 months. And now, okay, David, it's great. So you're getting all these automated responses. How much time is that saving? They're saving 200 plus hours per week from having to respond to these candidates. It's a huge, huge savings opportunity. I love this quote from Michael. It can always be kind of scary, honestly, to decide on a vendor. Our experience with Capacity is that they have absolutely been worth every penny. Thank you, Michael. We didn't pay Michael to say that. Michael said that on his own. Okay, switching gears. let's go to a university context. So let's talk about Maryville University. Just a few short years ago, Maryville University was a campus-only university. They had a few thousand students. Now there are around 10,000 students. And so they came to us and said, David, what if we could use capacity to help automate the workflows around different campus and online options? We now have 22,000 automated workflow tasks completed for Maryville. That's in a single month's time. Over 700 hours of staff time are saved per month just from one workflow. That's not including all the others that we've launched for them. Capacity is available 24/7 every single day of the year to answer questions for students in a self-serve manner. And they've now provided their students with a digital life coach that's plugged into their Canvas, it's plugged into their website, it's plugged into, I want to update my grades, or I want to drop a class, or I want to join the Hacky Sack Club, whatever kids are doing these days. The digital life coach is there to help them through that process. Dr. Mark Lombardi gave us a great testimonial here. Our amazing growth is a tribute to innovation and revolutionary approach to student learning and outcomes. We partner with Capacity to proactively ensure our students are getting the support they need to successfully achieve their educational goals. Last one here, let's talk about Assurance Financial. Assurance we rolled out Capacity on their website. They said, wait, this is so awesome. We want a fully dedicated experience here. So they launched askabby.com. They now have over 96% of their questions being answered without any human involvement in, again, less than 2 seconds. It's a fully dedicated bot-enabled experience for helping you navigate your way through the process of getting a loan. As Chief Digital Officer, Catherine Campbell would like to continue eliminating the non-revenue generating tasks, automating them with Capacity so the team can have more time to focus on the stuff that generates revenue. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple there. Okay, so David, you talked about Chargebee, you talked about Next Move, you talked about Maryville, you talked about Assurance. Do you guys walk the walk as well, or do you just talk the talk? Well, I can tell you our own customer success team used to use 9 products. We'd use Asana and Help Desk and Zapier and Jira Service Desk and Trello and Slack Workflow and Box and Typeform and Google Drive. We've now been able to consolidate that down to Capacity. And so it's like those the Hair Club for Men commercials they used to have back in the 90s, where they're not only the spokesperson, but they're also a user. It's the same way here. So I can look you in the eye and say, here at Capacity, not only are we doing this for our clients, but we drink our own champagne. We use this within our own customer success as well. So that's how we're here to help teams do their best work. This is how we're applying conversational AI. So conversational AI is the interface on top of your support automation platform, helping to both take on human labor as well as to learn and apply patterns going forward. I'm going to see real quick if we have any questions coming through on the chat. I see, well, this is one of my favorite questions. David, can we have a meeting to discuss potential use of Capacity products? The answer to that is yes. Any other questions? And I did not plant that one, by the way. Any other questions you all want to send through the chat? I can handle 1 or 2 more. Okay, I see one. What is your normal implementation time frame? So normally, if you start with us today, our goal is to get Capacity in your hands, answering questions in about 30 to 45 days. So call it 4 to 6 weeks-ish. In that time frame, what we'll do is we'll do usually 2 to 3 training sessions where you have a representative set of your team, ask questions to the bot, learn your lingo, figure out if there are any apps that we need to connect to, any documents we might need to upload, or any people we need to go build out our knowledge base from. We also have our knowledge content packs. So when you get started with us, you're not starting with a blank knowledge base. You can go turn on a content pack for your specific org or for your specific industry, so you can get up and running without having to jump through a bunch of hoops. Any more questions for today? Ooh, I see another one. Do your clients fully take over the responsibility to manage and customize the solution after implementation? So here's the best part. We can be flexible to hand you the platform, give you the training, and then step back. We also have dedicated customer success managers. So if you're like, hey, David, we want some more ongoing help or ongoing work, we can flex up to that as well. And so we can work within your budget, within your timeframes. Some clients come to us and they're like, we want a lot of heavy hand-holding. Some clients come to us and they're like, David, all we want to do is just show us how to get this thing going, and then we want to run. So that relates to a related question. Will I have a designated capacity rep to help me through the process? Absolutely. Your capacity customer success manager. I like to say people buy us for the tech, but they stay with us for our customer success team. All right, I think we got time for one more question. All right, so here's a question I've gotten. David, how do I get started? If I end up trying to automate the entire workplace, people are going to look at me like I have three heads. Like, what's a good place to get started? What we would typically say is start. Do you want to go internal or external? The larger the company, the bigger the internal problem is. The smaller the company, typically the internal problem is not as big. The external problem around support is bigger. So start there. Pick one or the other. About maybe a third of our clients are doing internal, third external, and roughly a third are using us for both. So once you decide internal, external, I would pick one use case to get going. Might be doing customer support on your website, might be doing underwriting support in a mortgage context, might be doing student support for a higher ed institution like a college or university. It might be HR onboarding support for an internal use case. You're going to pick your individual use case. Say, okay, what systems do we need to connect to? What applications do we need to have integrated? And then let's go rinse, wash, and repeat and go roll this out for the next few different departments. And yes, somebody did ask, are we going to be sending out a recording of this? We will. Super excited to get this in your hands. If you missed anything, by the way, we intentionally did not do a whole bunch of demos today. If you'd like to see this in action and actually demonstrate it, you can go to capacity.com. We've got some videos there, or you can reach out to me, David at capacity.com. Happy to get a demo scheduled with you directly. All right, well, I think that's all we had for today. I hope this was informative, at least somewhat entertaining, and again, looking forward to working with you as well. Thank you for checking us out. You can always learn more at www.capacity.com. Thank you.